A remote farmland village in China, dusk fading into the dimly lit dirt road, barely illuminated by the moonlight. A few trucks pass by, kicking up dust. Cargo trucks traverse the dirt roads to collect and deliver fresh produce. The nights are dark, and the roads are treacherous. A young girl, May, was walking along the side of the road, her worn-out school bag slung over her shoulder and reading a book. She hums to herself softly, completely engrossed in her book. A gust of wind blew towards her. A dried leaf May used as a page divider slips out and is carried by the wind into the middle of the road. She runs after it, her small figure nearly swallowed up by the dark road. An old truck rattles as it barrels down the dirt road. The road is barely visible without headlights. Truck driver glances up and suddenly sees May in the middle of the road, his foot slamming the brake, wheels screeching, but it was too late. The truck slammed into May. May is hit. Her body lands with a sickening thud a few meters away. Her book scattered. Silence, except for the sound of the truck's creak and crickets and distant owl hoots. May lies unconscious, blood pooling around her face still as stone. The driver, pale and shaking, steps out of the truck. He looks around nervously. He murmurs in shock, "Oh no, what have I done?" In a frenzy, he drags May's lifeless body into the thick bushes and covers her with a pile of dried leaves. He glances around and sees a stray, dead dog. He drags it onto the road in place of May's lifeless body. The driver speeds off into the night, the dog's body lying motionless on the road. Days passed, and May's family reported her missing. The villagers searched the neighborhood, carrying lanterns, walking along the dirt road, calling out May's name, but no trace of the girl could be found. Suddenly, soft crying echoes through the dark road. "Did you hear that?" one whispers. The others look around but see nothing. They hurried away, walking faster, the crying sound fading in the background. Ah Chiang, a young soldier called to the village for training, had a unique gift. He could see spirits. Ah Chiang walks cautiously along the same road one evening. Suddenly, he hears the soft crying sound from the bushes. He glanced behind him and the crying grew louder. He turns and sees the faint glowing figure of a little girl standing quietly near the bushes. Who are you?" Ah Chiang stammered, stepping back. The girl's ghostly figure points silently at a spot covered in a pile of dried leaves, her face pale with bloodshot eyes. Ah Chiang hesitated but then moves closer. He sees a pair of small sneakers peeking out of the pile of dried leaves. His flashlight reveals dried bloodstains on the sneakers. He begins digging with his hands and uncovers May's lifeless body. "Oh my God," Ah Chiang whispers. The police are called. Blue and red lights flash against the dark bushes as police officers examine the scene. Ah Chiang explains what he saw, his voice trembling. The police soon track down the truck driver who confessed to his crime. May's family finally received closure, laying her to rest. The villagers erect new streetlights along the road, their dim glow chasing away the shadows. One late evening, Ah Chiang stood at the spot where May's spirit once pointed. The silence was interrupted only by the cry of insects and crickets, the rustling of the wind. No more crying, the girl's cries were never heard again. With justice served, her soul finally found peace. The wind howled outside the dilapidated roadside motel where Nia, a night manager, watched the clock tick slowly. Her shifts were usually long and uneventful, catering mostly to truck drivers and those looking for a cheap place to rest. But one night, an older man checked into room 9, the farthest room from the lobby, and everything changed. The man had a frail look about him, as if life itself had drained away from his bones. He hesitated before signing the guest book, glancing over his shoulder like he expected someone, or something else, to follow. Nia couldn't help but notice the deep purplish bruise on his jaw and the fresh cut across his eyebrow. When she asked if he was all right, he merely nodded, whispering something under his breath. She could have sworn he said, "He's here." But she wasn't sure. For the next few nights, bizarre occurrences disrupted the eerie calm of the motel. It started small, lights flickering in room 9, static blaring from the television, the door rattling against its frame. Each time, Nia would go to check, but the old man would just stare at her with terrified eyes, his lips cracked and bloodied. "It's him," he would say, his voice trembling. "He's getting stronger." Nia tried to dismiss it as just a troubled man's ramblings, but then the bruises began to multiply. No one ever entered his room, yet he looked like he'd been in a bar brawl every time she saw him. Swollen eyes, split lips, cuts and abrasions down his arms and neck. She even found deep, dark handprints on his wrists, as if someone had tried to yank him out of bed. The final straw came one stormy evening when Nia heard guttural screams echo through the lobby. She raced to room 9, heart pounding, keys clanging against her belt. She burst through the door to find the man writhing on the floor, gasping for breath. His body was contorted in an impossible angle, and his eyes rolled back as if something invisible had a hold on him. Nia froze in horror as the bed frame skidded across the room, slamming into the wall by itself. The mirror shattered, raining glass like jagged teardrops. The man struggled to his feet, pointing shakily at the ceiling. "He's here!" he shrieked. "Tiberius, he's here!" Before she could react, he collapsed, unconscious. After that night, Nia didn't see the man again. He had vanished, no trace left behind except for a single twisted piece of metal that used to be the door lock. She reported it to the local authorities, but they found nothing unusual. No record of the man's stay, no sign of forced entry or struggle. It was as if he had been a ghost. But Room 9 changed after that. The atmosphere grew thick with an unshakable malevolence. Guests would check in and then check out hours later, leaving their belongings behind in haste. They complained of whispers, of shadows flitting just out of sight, of being watched. One night, a new guest, a truck passing through, banged on the front desk, his face pale as bone. "That room," he stammered. Lights were blinking, flickering on and off like someone was messing with them. Nia's blood ran cold. She checked the surveillance cameras, dreading what she might see. And there it was. Room 9's light flashing erratically, though no one stood outside. Then, just as she was about to turn away, the image wavered. A figure appeared, a dark silhouette that shifted and stretched unnaturally across the screen. It hovered by the window, face turned away, shoulders hunched. Slowly, it raised an arm, pointing directly at the camera, and then the lights went out. Nia didn't wait to find out what happened next. She grabbed her coat, her keys, and fled. As she drove away, she glanced in the rearview mirror one last time. The motel sat dark and silent, but Room 9's light flickered on, a dim, ominous glow in the darkness. The next morning, a new manager took over. Nia didn't explain why she left, didn't warn him about Room 9. It didn't matter, she thought. He'd find out soon enough. They always do. The motel gained a reputation for being cursed after that. Guests still came, but none stayed longer than a night. And every now and then, the new manager would get a call about lights blinking in Room 9, but no one ever saw what was really inside, not until it was too late. Thanks for diving into the shadows with us. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe for more spine-chilling tales. Stay curious, stay safe, and remember, sometimes the truth is scarier than fiction. Until next time, sleep tight if you can.